This is the PL-89, and today is February 3rd, 2025, Monday, February 3rd, 2025, and it is also the 5th day of Shvat, of 5785, Yom Sheni, second day of the week, and it is Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Brief explanation of the functionality based on the numbers of the day. As explained in previous videos, the PL-89 calendar is a calendar that, so to speak, reconciles, I'm using that very broadly, the sun, the moon, and Mercury. That is, the idea of planet Mercury and the idea of the sun and the moon, and how it affects the measurement of time, and how our thoughts can be affected by it, possibly. The way it reconciles the sun and the moon, reconciled in its larger sense, just means it's held together, it's held in balance, it's showing the relationship in terms of some kind of a metric. Very simply, the solar calendar, or just the calendar we have, the secular, the Gregorian calendar, is based on 365 days, the sun, and then the Hebrew calendar is based on the moon, although it does take into consideration the sun as well. And Mercury is that wild card. Mercury is a concept that in this work, Mercury is the idea that provides communication between the sun and the moon. This could be totally a fantasy. It could be just something I imagined. It could be something that I partially drew from something. But Mercury, in mythology, Mercury was the messenger. And he brought information from one place to the other. Maybe that's in part where I got it from. But Mercury is a mysterious planet that some of the mathematics of it have a relationship to various Torah ideas. And so this, you'll see this basic table is a grid. It's 8 times 10. So you'll see 80 boxes here. And then there's an invisible row of another 10 days under here, possibly the maximum of 10 days. And in the case of a 31-day month, 31 is just considered 30. It only goes up to the 10 under here. So this is 90 days when you include the invisible line under here. This starting box is 8. And then the next box is 17. The next box is 25. The next box is 34. And you'll see very quickly that that I should have mentioned that it's 1:07 p.m. when I started. It's now 1:11, but 1:07 p.m. is very important. If I didn't mention it, I might have, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, 8 plus 9 is 17. 17 plus 8 is 25. 25 plus 9 is 34. 34 plus 9 would be 42, but the line of demarcation, or the whatever you want to call it, is 40. So it just goes from 34 to 2. It's kind of like a combination lock. If you have 34 and you add 8, you'll get 2 because you go around. 2 and then plus. You'll see the pattern very clearly. You'll see that it's 8 plus 9 plus 8 plus 9 plus 8 plus 9. The reason for that was included in many previous videos, and maybe included in future videos, probably will. But for the sake of time, I'm going to not mention that reason right now. But the interesting point that wanted to really hone in on the functionality of the PL-89 thought calendar, aka the Mercury calendar, is the number one, the convergence of thought and time. Thought, time, and money really are the same metric. It's all a metric of consciousness, and these numbers are these sort of generic numbers that account for thought, time, and money are all measured within this metric here. So, or extensions. But if I see a phone number, I consider that a thought. I think you can say that if you wanted to split hairs and say that phone numbers are different than thoughts, they're numbers. No, I consider all numbers thoughts. So anything that's thought is numbers, and then you can call, but for the purpose of this, time is important because time has an aspect of a physical dimension. It's not just thought. It's like we're moving. There's a lot of physical things. Anyway, all that to say that someone's extension is the same number as a hotel room suite number 2 years ago and exactly this time. There's no time there. I mean, 2 years ago, how does it come up today? It was, okay, I'm going to say the month of February, but I mean exactly the same time. It goes back and forth, but the name came up, was the Uber driver, was the same name as that person. That was exactly 2 years ago. But within the same month, I stayed at a hotel room, was the same extension as him. And what does that have to do with today? Because today is exactly that same number. 2 years later, comes up in the PL-89 calendar, and that's really what I'm so excited about, because I'm seeing that if you can tap into some kind of pattern that numbers come around, and you can correlate them to the movements of the sun and the moon and Mercury possibly, and I'll explain why in a different video why I say possibly about Mercury. Mercury has such an element of mystery to it, and yet there's something that is very, very reliable, so to speak, about Mercury. But in any case, I'm going to cut to the chase right now. Today on the Mercury calendar, today is the 3rd day of February, so you count 3 boxes. Each box is a day. Look, 8, 17, 25. So that's 25, right? So that's the 3rd. But it's also the 5th of Shvat. Do you see how the sun and the moon are being both held in balance? It's not enough that it's February 3rd. It's equally important that it's 5 Shvat. Equally important. If you look at the box that accounts for 5 Shvat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to count 8, 17, 25, 34, and then 2. You're going to get the numbers 2, 25. 225 was that number. 225 was his extension number. 225 was the hotel suite number. Exactly around this time. February of 2023. Again, there was an Uber driver today, and his name was the same name as that person. So, all of these points that I've just mentioned, and there's other points now that really, there's so many more points, but this is enough to explain what the thought calendar is about. It takes time and it just squashes it down, flattens it. It's nothing. Or maybe even just dissolves it. It's only about the numbers. It's not about the time. It's not about the money. It's not about the daf. It's not about the yomi. No, I'm just kidding. Right? It's not about the time. It's not about the money. It's about the numbers, the generic numbers of the patterns of the PL-89.